one of the biggest pieces of fear-mongering to block single-payer healthcare, to block an actual plan to cover every human being in this country, is this disingenuous talking point pioneered by Joe Biden and Tim Ryan that somehow it's unfair to labor unions because, and in some cases, some folks in labor unions do have very good health care, which can, of course, be taken away from them in a minute. They go on a strike, which is another great argument for single-payer health care. But also, even other folks who are employed or are in unions actually still deal with a lot of the same overpricing and gouging that most consumers of these parasite companies deal with. And this gentleman is one of those people, and he is going broke paying for his health care. He had an opportunity at the United Food and Commercial Workers Forum to ask one of the candidates about this. Now, unfortunately, the candidate he asked is maybe the candidate that there's something charming about her, just basically like, you don't deserve shit. Check this out.
I'm fortunate enough to live here in this wonderful city. I've been a member for these 25 years as a meat cutter in one of our local grocery stores. I am a personal 5-year survivor of leukemia, and like many families, I am overwhelmed by the rising costs in the healthcare industry. My question to you candidates is, what is in your agenda to lower these health costs for our families and myself?
All right. Well, that's a great question from Dean. So, first of all, making sure that you can organize is key to this. That has got to be important because you're able to negotiate and work hard to get the best benefits for workers in your union, and other unions do the same thing. So I would make sure under my plan, we protect those policies that you negotiated hard for. Because some of the other plans don't do that. There's some disagreement on this on the debate stage, and I am one that always has stood by allowing people to keep their plans, because there's 149 million Americans that have their own plans right now. They're not perfect plans. We want to do everything to bring the premiums down, but we got to remember that and not kick people off those insurance plans in 4 years, which is what one of the proposals does. So that's first thing.
Whoa, that is some top. I was just about to say that I'm almost charmed by Amy Klobuchar, but she really escalated the lie, the disingenuousness there. Yes, in 4 years under the Sanders plan, you will get kicked off of your almost certainly overpriced. Let me tell you something. And I will, of course, I want Medicare for all. I can't wait to get kicked off of my plan.
Oh, please kick me off.
Please.
Oh, no. Anything but that.
Oh, no.
You're going to replace it with a free one?
Yes.
No.
Wow.
That covers everything? No.
I mean, honestly, I'm looking at bills, and I don't, luckily enough, knock on wood, like, I'm in good health. I don't use my insurance barely ever, right? It's an overpriced, defective product that is there in case you get hit by a bus. And my God, the way these people have been with even some of the most basic stuff imaginable, I'm doubly petrified of getting hit by a bus because, I mean, that's exactly when they can mess with you most. You know, when you don't have the energy to argue on the phone with them. So even if you are one of a minuscule amount of Americans that has really good health insurance, it will be better when you are covered under a government plan. So this language is just, it's so toxically misleading and dishonest, and of course jeopardizes tens of millions of people's lives. So I was going to say, there's something that I find, I don't know what the right word is, but my annoyance level with Amy Klobuchar is actually low relative to other candidates. It's not like when I look at Pete Buttigieg, it's like, oh my God, please, Jesus Christ, just get this guy off the TV. With Amy Klobuchar, I'm just like, sure, go for it.
She's the daughter of an alcoholic trying to be a perfectionist out there in the world. I get it.
Yeah, I didn't even know that, but like, what, I don't like her by any, I mean, she's awful, but I don't have like a visceral reaction to being annoyed by her. But that is just such a toxic talking point.
Well, speaking of talking points from nominally progressive candidates here, Tulsi Gabbard recently said that She's on the if you like your plan, you can keep it. I'm not into,
I look at it as a soldier.
And here's
I look
the
at it
thing
as a soldier
about that little talking point. Anytime someone says, I'm not, if you like one more than the other, look, if the public option was being sold as you're definitely going to like the public option better because it's going to be so much cheaper compared to whatever. But they always say like it might not be better. They give the option that it might not be better because they're not going to give you one that's going to knock out private insurance.
They're not, and the public option is not Medicare for all. I mean, people need to be incredibly clear about this. I understand that you can very narrowly litigate whether or not you're going to ban private insurance or not. And I said yesterday what my opinion on that is, which is like, yes, you know what? If you want to allow for private insurance to continue to exist, it needs to be either mutually owned or nonprofit, and it needs to be dwarfed by governmental health care to such a degree that it makes up a fraction of the market, and it is regulated more aggressively than a public utility. Sure, I guess. But anybody in an American, there is no candidate that is saying, I want to do it the French way. Right. They are using the language, Buttigieg specifically, Gabbard specifically, are using the language of Medicare for all. I guess maybe even Gabbard might not even be using Medicare for all anymore.
Yeah,
but Medicare for all who want it is fundamentally dishonest. It's not a public option. Medicare for all means you have a governmental program that covers everybody, period. And it's free at the point of purchase, and you have it. And that's it, and there's no nonsense. And Biden and Klobuchar and Ryan are open that they don't support it, and they lie about it, fearmonger about it. Buttigieg is fundamentally dishonest because he's basically talking about a public option, but calling it Medicare for all who want it. Gabbard is either being dishonest or is just fully flip-flopped. I don't know which. And Warren, there's obviously a huge amount of ambiguity in her position, and what isn't ambiguous so far is that she's not talking about a plan that would cover mental health and dental, which is also essential to an actual robust universal plan. So, these lies are only going to increase. And I would ask, people who get touchy about a primary fight, even though it's literally a primary, we all got to make sure that, particularly holding this talking point accountable. Because when an Amy Klobuchar is lying and fear-mongering about a good healthcare plan, what happens when a candidate like Sanders is the nominee? Obviously, I think it should be Sanders. I think that's a no-brainer. But even Warren, if Warren continues on the path of talking about if Warren decides she lands somewhere there, or even if she doesn't, Trump will run against her on it. We need to make sure that these lies and these disingenuous talking points don't stick.
Yeah, we knew they were going to do this from the beginning.
That's
because
right.
Medicare for all is an incredibly popular phrase, and we knew they were going to muddy the waters and try to piggyback off of it while actually blocking it in its tracks. It also makes me really mad when people support something that leaves out dental or vision or mental health. Like, oh, did you want to insure your legs too? Like, oh, that'll be extra. Like, no, like every part of you, that includes your teeth, it includes your brain, it includes your eyes. Like, there shouldn't be any loopholes there. They're all a part of the human.
Yeah, dental should have been done in the 60s.
Yeah, it's outrageous. And I mean, the only valid criticisms I've really heard of the Canadian system are that it doesn't include those things. And that's where the argument is. All right.